Before we begin this podcast, we have an exciting announcement regarding an upcoming hackathon. This hackathon is a Gitcoin virtual hackathon, and the title of the hackathon is Hacking with XSGD on Zilliqa. This will run from October 19th to November 9, 2020, and you can find the link to register for this hackathon below. There are prizes worth over 10,000 USD that you can win in this hackathon, and there are more than 15 prizes that you can win in this hackathon. Even after the hackathon, you can apply for a Hive grant and continue to pursue your project in the future. More details about the hackathon can be found in the link below. Let's start with the podcast now. Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of the Zilliqa podcast. Today I have Sharon with me. Sharon Paul is the head of payments at Xfers, which focuses on enabling financial access within Indonesia and Singapore. She leads her Xfers efforts to become the leading online payments gateway for underbanked sectors such as agent banking networks and digital assets. Xfers clientele has grown to include Binance Singapore, Crypto.com, PayFast, and Vcash Indonesia. So, first of all, hi, Shan. How are you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'd like you to start off by actually talking about how you got into crypto.
Okay. It was many years ago, right after college. Yeah, I just realized that might reveal my age. You would say I was just working out of a startup. In very coincidentally, one of the peers or the other companies that was in the same co-working space is actually one of the leading crypto exchanges that we know today. But that was like kind of their first, second year of operating. So it was through that I learned what was Bitcoin, and out of curiosity, I just bought some. Yeah, that's how I started.
And how did you eventually start working with Xfers, and what exactly is Xfers? Can you give a brief about that?
Yeah, so Xfers, we operate in Indonesia and Singapore, like what you explained, and we're a payments company, but specifically payments in the role of the underlying infrastructure that connects maybe other fintechs or even digital commerce kind of businesses with the local banking system. So we're the intermediary that kind of makes the APIs of the banking system of these local markets more accessible. How I got involved with Xfers was that Xfers is primarily one of the main fiat to crypto on-ramps, and for the Singapore market at least. So I was very interested in finding or joining this whole industry, but kind of there were a lot of speculation back in 2017 and 18. It was really quite tough to find a legitimate and serious partner in this whole industry, and Xfers was one of them. So out of curiosity, I joined the team then.
Gotcha. And you have StraitsX, I think, as
Yeah.
part of Xfers, and you have XSGD, and Zilliqa has a partnership with Xfers as well. So, and for the Zilliqa community, can you explain like what do all these things? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So XSGD, it stands for our Singapore dollars pegged stablecoin. So one XSGD is redeemable at $1 Singapore dollars. And StraitsX is the stablecoin brand, the project name that we have. So our aim or our vision for StraitsX is to not just stay within the Singapore currency, which is XSGD, but is to actually expand to our other ASEAN currencies too.
Okay, gotcha. So this includes all
Yeah,
countries in ASEAN. I think that's
correct. Yeah, that's the
yeah.
dream.
What do you think about the DeFi ecosystem these days? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely taken more noise. There's more attention to it, but I think maybe people don't realize that while there are not new DeFi initiatives definitely coming up in just this year, but a lot of the popular ones actually came up way back in 2017, 2018, right? Even guys like Aave, one of the top lending platforms, they actually have been grinding it out for the past 2 years, but it's only this year that they appeared to be an overnight success. So a lot of these players have been there. Even I think Switcher, one of the partners of Zilliqa, has also been here for the past 2 years. So I think it's important for all these players to have done the legwork to build the products that they have. But now I think what's most important for DeFi is always liquidity. I think they have to get more liquidity on their balance sheets in whatever platform that the DeFi protocol is on, and then that way they can attract more users and participants.
Yeah. And I think definitely like concepts like liquidity mining
Yeah.
and things like that. and basically incentivize the community to attract liquidity are interesting concepts. So Sharon, can you talk about how do you see DeFi versus open banking?
Okay. Interesting question. Because as a payments company, the trends that we have been with was open banking was a very big trend or the past few years, and if not, it's still a very big trend today. And there's now DeFi, decentralized finance. So what's the difference, right? Open banking, by definition, I guess, is always about having the banking system gain access or open up themselves to non-banking partners to the financial data and made available through APIs of the banks. So back then, certain banks, they may have the data, but they may somehow feel protective of it, so they wouldn't open up their APIs. Whereas now, open banking is a trend where amongst banks, they see value in fellow fintechs like us, of course, and sometimes even normal e-commerce guys. And that to have gained direct access to the bank's APIs, whether it's to read the transaction data, whether it's to make the transaction, that whole movement is about open banking. So it's about the bridge between fintechs like us and the banks through API access. DeFi is a little bit different. So DeFi, in the premise or the objective, I guess, is also about opening up the financial system, but it's not necessarily so specific about the bank. It's really just about having a more open financial system or ecosystem. If a bank built a DeFi project, that's probably interesting, but you'll notice that a lot of DeFi projects are not provided by the banks itself. Yeah, so by that premise is totally different. So, it's interesting that with DeFi, you start to see non-banking founders or founding teams create banking-like products, like yield-giving products, when we call it e-farming. So you put your money there and then you get a yield. It's fairly similar to like the banking system where you put in a collateral, you get an interest and a loan. So some similarities, but I'll say with DeFi, the products are the same, but the accessibility, the way to get access to this product is entirely different. You don't need to sign up for an account, whereby it's all manual. The organization or the bank used to have to approve you, but now it's really, you own some maybe Zilliqa tokens, and you are just plugged into the DeFi products that are built on top of the same blockchain protocol. And then suddenly you gain access to it just by having the same token or the same token that's on the same protocol. So the products might be the same, but the way you get access to it for DeFi is through the blockchain protocol itself. Open banking is really the banks, opening up or making the choice to open up their data through API.
Yeah. I think in DeFi, things are also over collateralized. That's also a difference, right? Like if say you have loan of, if someone lends $100, another person would be able to borrow $75 worth of tokens because things are quite volatile.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And how did Xfers actually get into the Zilliqa ecosystem?
Yeah, so Xfers got into the Zilliqa ecosystem partly because we're all based in Singapore too. So we're very fortunate that the Zilliqa team was also one of the more iconic blockchain projects started out of Singapore. And literally our offices were also quite nearby, like the west side of Singapore. So naturally, if you're interested in blockchain, Zilliqa was very known, and Xfers was kind of known to be being open to kind of solve the fiat on and off-ramp problem for some key consumer-facing exchanges in Singapore. So our brands behind the scenes were known within the local community. So it was no surprising that we just crossed paths with each other. We had a chat, and both teams were in a way very opportunistically open to finding a project together. And we realized that the perfect fit was, as Xfers, as a payments company, we also hold a e-money issuing license, where we can help store funds for the merchants. And Zilliqa, as a blockchain company, was trying to figure out a way, how do we have a player that can have this one-for-one peg for the Singapore dollar. So it was a very good synergy. And then we just came together and decided to do XSGD.
Okay, gotcha. You started talking about XSGD. Some people know about the value of stablecoins, and right now I think the number of stablecoins are at the amount of value that is held in USDC, USDT, DAI is really at an all-time high. So can you explain what is the benefit of using stablecoins?
Okay. Benefits in stablecoin in general or specifically XSGD?
In general.
Okay. For now, I mean, the immediate benefit of any stable coin, right? The truth is in the crypto scene, especially now, I think the past few months, the whole decentralized finance markets have been really exploded again. So that has caught the attention for many active traders in the crypto scene. And having a stable coin that is pegged to the local currency, where, regular things like food and transport are all priced in, it's a very good hedge for traders who are actively trading or maybe choosing to sometimes stay out of their position. So that helps a lot. Right down to even the mechanisms or the products that are built within this whole DeFi movement, right? Previously, I think before DeFi stablecoins became really widely adopted, a lot of these trading products, maybe yield-giving products, are all packed in Bitcoin, Ethereum. So it was a bit tough for someone to really understand or take the risk appetite to should I participate in this yield giving product. However, when stable coins now essentially it's maybe $1 now you can trade it in the DeFi ecosystem because it is a representation of it is built on the Ethereum or maybe Zilliqa blockchain, right? You can now be plugged into the DeFi trading opportunities, but it's easy to understand because it's value-wise, it's packed in the currency that I care, so that's stable coins. Yeah, so no longer do I need to calculate, okay, I'm earning more, perhaps more Bitcoin, but what does that mean for me in today's currency terms? Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Apart from DeFi, I think also there's people. Do you see that they will be used for, say, people who are transmitting money from outside? Say they live outside and they for basically for remittances and stuff.
Yeah, so this is the truth. This happened even prior to joining Xfers. I was pleasantly surprised where one of my employees that was back in the previous firm that I was in, and he was based in Philippines and I'm based in Singapore. And we usually always remit money through the normal payment methods to him. And one day he actually asked me that, hey, do I feel comfortable, paying him in this thing called USDT? So I was very surprised because I knew USDT then, but I did not know that people will be willing around the ASEAN borders to accept this as a mode of payment. And he probably had a means to convert that into pesos, like actual fiat for himself. So he could bypass all the very high fees that traditional players in payments were charging him. So that was interesting. So to answer your question, um, would people outside maybe the crypto community be open to this? Yes. But what I've observed is that it still takes time. We are still probably very early stage of that happening.
How do actually new XSGD tokens they come into supply?
It's quite straightforward for us. So we are always a payments company, and some of our product has a wallet system as well. For us to get to mint more supply of XSGD, we have a very strict pairing. So it's one XSGD for $1 Singapore. So for every one XSGD that's minted out and circulating, it actually means that because we are withholding $1 Singapore.
Okay, so like, do you have partnerships with certain players, and if they request, say, XSDD, then you send them and you have backing, or how does that work?
Yeah, so to encourage circulation, I think for any stablecoin or in fact any DeFi initiative, right, liquidity is the key because with more liquidity and then people will feel more comfortable participating in it too. So that applies to stablecoin and definitely XSGD. So we're always looking for more partners, who can give more reasons to the end consumer why they should maybe hold or get hold of XSGD. So it may not be experts ourselves that are producing all these yield-giving initiatives, but we'll be definitely happy to work with people who they themselves want to provide that, and we can always mint XSGD for that.
Okay, gotcha. We already have so many stable coins, right? We have
Yes.
USDC, USDT, BUSD,
Mm.
and I think a couple of other. I think Binance launched in the Indonesian currency one as well. So why would someone prefer to hold XSTD instead of, say, USDC or USDT?
Yeah, I think this is more of a currency preference type of question. For us, I think we always go back to why do we do certain things, right? And Xfers, our mission is it might sound cliche in other projects, but for us, for years, we have been always focused on providing payments as a means to provide financial access within ASEAN. So when it comes to stablecoins, it was a very frequent request that we got the past few years, where we were the primary fiat to crypto RAMs for crypto exchanges, and not every user wanted to actually go off their positions, maybe Bitcoin or Ethereum or Zilliqa even, to be in SGD. They actually wanted to stay within the blockchain ecosystem, but unless a representation of the Singapore dollar is built on the blockchain, right? Some sort of blockchain ledger. There's no way for them. They really needed to park it out in actual fiat. So it's really a common request that, we are in a good position. We know the crypto exchanges fairly decently well. I think we're quite plugged in there. So if anything, we felt like, okay, if it's not Xfers, why not? Let's just launch this XSGD for consumers and even businesses, and see whether, if they want to take a position in Singapore currency terms rather than USD, sure, at least they have this option too.
Yeah, and is like SGD in general has a good I think has a backing of like multiple reserves, and overall like I think since I live in India, like INR has been falling. If you look at say the next last 10 years, INR has been falling in comparison to USD for 10 years. But if you look at the graph of SGD, it's almost stable. Or so yeah, are there any benefits for holding Singapore dollar, like value as well?
Yeah, I think this goes back to even way beyond crypto industry or DeFi industry. In general, like when we look at the normal capital markets, right? USD is definitely dominant, but Singapore dollars is a very good safe haven or hedge. I mean, like what you correctly pointed out, the amount of volatility has been there maybe in the recent months, but compared to other currencies, it's not as drastic. So certain ASEAN players, they still trade sometimes in SGD. If it's not USD, sometimes it's SGD. So we're just allowing the DeFi or crypto industry to now have that option also in Singapore dollars.
Okay, gotcha. So if someone say wants to get access to XSGD, how they can buy XSGD?
Yeah, so today there's a few options. We're still taking it a little bit slower because we're rolling out in phases. We have worked with a couple of consumer-facing crypto exchanges. I think over time you'll start to see more of them advertise in the next few months of this year. But yeah, definitely you'll see more of these exchanges listing up. And an upcoming project, if you want to, maybe just want to give a name plug, this is a Zilliqa podcast. One of the initiatives will be ZilSwap, right? And will be, I think for everyone, all the viewers looking on this, you'll definitely check out and wait for the day that XSGD is listed on ZilSwap.
Okay, gotcha. And ZilSwap is we all are looking forward to its launch. Coming to like current partners of Xfers, you mentioned that like XSGD will be on ZilSwap, but in general, like what can you share about the current partners, and overall, which direction are you heading towards in terms of doing partnerships?
Yeah, I think when it comes to partnerships, we definitely think of the adoption of XSGD or even our other future stable coins. It is really, we just think about, okay, what would make someone adopt a currency? Yeah, so granted that they need to be first interested in this local currency. So if it's XSGD, we are looking for ways whereby a Singapore-pegged stablecoin will be of interest. So that's definitely the first step. So, any consumer-facing crypto platform that's aiming at the Singapore community will be of our interest, because these are the consumers that will care about Singapore dollars. And also maybe ASEAN-based. Like if there's any ASEAN, capital markets platforms that are doing products pegged to Singapore dollars, these are guys that also will be interested to see whether a tokenized form of Singapore dollars will be interesting for them. Others would be really enabling XSGD, the Singapore currency, to be introduced to the international community of DeFi. I think that's the first step. And there are many different types of DeFis, whether you're a maybe lending platform or really you have your own different means to provide yield. I think these are primary targets for our partners that we want to have. Others would be really the capital markets kind of people, because we're actually hearing a lot of interesting projects where nothing to do with actual cash or dollars, but different types of capital market assets are being tokenized now too. And there's always some sort of a final settlement that is pegged to a Singapore dollars or even a USD and things like that. So these are projects also that we are looking at.
And I think Xfers was one of the earliest projects that actually started building on top of
Yeah.
Zilliqa.
Yeah.
So can you share like what has your experience been so far? And in terms of the support from the team, the community support, and so on. Yeah.
Okay. The team, I'll say the working relationship has been great. So, from the time where the idea of partnering up came all the way to right now, it's being executed. The commitment has always never wavered. It's always there on both teams. We even have regular meetups to ensure that this project, if there's any bottlenecks, let's clear it together, whether it's technical or non-technical. So that's great. The community also, I think, has been very supportive. People, when we did a soft launch of XSGD last year, the reaction was very optimistic. So that definitely motivated our team here. But right down to, when it comes down to building a stablecoin on the Zilliqa contract, right? Well, I think it's quite obvious that I'm not the developer itself, but the feedback that we always get from our team internally is that, to build smart contracts on top of it, it's decent. It's quite user friendly, and if there's any problems, the team at Zilliqa is always there, real time on Slack or even WhatsApp to help us. So that's really helped us in terms of one of the earlier projects on this. And yeah, I think during our demos, internal testings, the whole, I think Zilliqa is known for low fees and faster transactions. So that has indeed been the case. So that's a very good thing that in the end, you actually walk the talk for us. So yeah, that's been great.
Okay. That's great to hear. So just to wrap this up, what's the future roadmap of Xfers, and how can people find more about and stay updated of what's happening?
Yeah. Well, Xfers, our vision is to really still continue our efforts in different projects, whereby it provides financial access across different industries. So for stablecoin, it's definitely to make the whole crypto assets or even decentralized finance more accessible to someone who is holding Singapore dollars in fiat. So that has always stayed consistent. We'll definitely see more projects that are trying to make XSGD is the bridge between the fiat and the crypto asset world. So that's going to continue coming up this year. And in general for ASEAN, we are kind of accelerating our efforts too. A little bit distracting from maybe a distraction from the community of this video, but Xfers is also tackling another kind of financial access problem whereby we are dealing with people who can only pay with cash. So let alone bank transfers and then to the crypto world, we're actually dealing how do we help the cash-based economy of ASEAN to even pay for online transactions. So that's a different set of problems that Xfers we are very bullish on too.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I think that was an interesting talk, and I look forward to seeing our collaboration. And I think as Zilshop launches and more partnerships come up, the adoption of XSTD will also increase with time. So yeah, thanks Sharon for taking the time out today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.